Hello everyone, it's Top Hat King, and welcome back to another video. As many of you have commented and may know, it is a Stereotypical Obby's 1-year anniversary a couple of days ago. In honor of this occasion, the developer of ASO had made a special anniversary for the game, which shows some more story and lore within it. So let's talk about it. The anniversary mode begins as the original, except this time Helper is dressed up for the occasion, sporting a party hat. Helper informs us that we need to collect some party supplies so we can get the party set up all the way at the end of the stage to celebrate the anniversary. After talking with him, if you hold off, instead of the red text appearing like in the original game, Helper questions why you haven't moved on yet, to which we probably should do. Here we are tasked with collecting 6 party hats all around the map, with all of them being pretty well hidden. If you want to see how you can get those party hats, there's one behind the first sign, one in the wall segment, one on the rails, 2 in the train, and the last one is in the second connected tower. Compared to in the game, there are significantly less stages and also some controls that weren't in the original, and the obbies are actually different from the originals, with many of them I think being cut or new stages that were created for this occasion. Regardless, there isn't much here compared to the original to really see, with the exception of the rails and the train that we see more towards the end, as it could be more so a continuation of the original rails that we see in the base game, wherein in the very first video, if you remember that one, we talked about it being likely more symbolic of the character's life that we play as going off the rails. That led to that being added. Here though, I think it's more fitting that we see the train as it's kind of transporting us to the next stages and eventually to the party itself. Here is where the lore actually begins. Here we see a cake and 6 chairs, a stage, and a bouncy castle. This is an allusion to the happiest day minigame in FNAF 3. There's even a stage to complete it as a reference to where the animatronics would be, performing. However, there is a hole on that stage, and should you collect all 6 party hats, that hole will be opened, and you will be able to delve into the unknown. Jumping into the hole changes the music and the room you drop to, as it's all shrouded in darkness. Here, we're given a light, and we begin to descend into a dark corridor. The corridor is in reference to one of Kane Pixels' work known as The Oldest View, particularly the episode Beneath the Earth, wherein a character explores a strange hole in the ground that leads into a very similar corridor. There even is that weird segment before the door that has molded tiles and looks dilapidated after opening the door. So thanks to Benja for informing me on that one. Anyway, the difference here though is that instead of leading to an abandoned looking mall, it instead leads to the basement of the first Replica County Archives home. The house is different though. There's no gun safe in the basement for one. The cabinets are not yet filled with books and other goodies that we see in the RCA1 house, and overall it looks more empty. Heading upstairs, we enter a room that segues into the kitchen. There's nothing of note within the room except a strange drawing / art piece, but it doesn't really have much meaning yet, so we're gonna move on. It's important to mention that we are still looking for party supplies, and most are in somebody's rooms. But the 2 that aren't are the candles that are found in the bathroom and the piñata found in the basement next to the TV. It's also worth mentioning that some Easter eggs here are considered non-canon, but we'll get to those when the time comes. Anyway, upon entering a kitchen, we see a pot of soup being made, and on the fridge we see the family. The drawings are of the kid who we play as from RCA1. We get a small family drawing wherein we see the father, mother, sister, and kid all together. We also find a cake. As we leave the kitchen, we see the table that was set up for the kid's birthday. There's 6 chairs that are all set up with bowls for the party. We'll get into why there are 6 chairs later and what this might mean and the significance of it, but walking past it, we also see a desk with a lot of VHS tapes sitting on the desk. It's unclear whose the desk this is, but given the story so far, we can assume that this is probably from the father's. He seems to be an avid watcher of these tapes, which for the most part seem to be documentaries or movie references, and not really anything of note beyond that. There's 4 bedrooms near the kitchen. They're pretty empty for the most part, only really having the party supplies, but there are hints for them. In one of the master bedrooms on the desk, there's a book for the Replica County Sheriff's Department. Next to it, there's some papers and books, meaning that whoever was sleeping here seems to want to be a sheriff. We'll get into what this means later, but it's pretty obvious. In another room, we see other books with names, and one of them being the History of Replica County Archives by a guy named Dendrick House, and another named The Meaning of Life, made by me? Yeah, no, apparently I make a cameo in the form of this book. Sadly, it's not considered canon, and this is one of the only occasions I think it is mentioned that it's non-canon, but that's pretty awesome. Thanks, Razor. You get a cookie. Anyway, in terms of other books or information, there is one that's pretty vague but important, as on the living room table, there is one notebook that states, "He went too far, but to use our Chloe in this obsession? I had enough. She wouldn't want this, and I'm going to stop it by destroying her tombstone." Next to the notebook is a picture book, and on a photo of a dog, it seems like it says Chloe, so I'm assuming that it's mentioning the dog. Anyway, once we gather all the party supplies, the game cuts to the ending of the anniversary. Back to the RCA1 ending. With Happy Birthday being played in the background and everything set up, we see the now game-ended kid on the floor with a party hat to celebrate his happiest day. After the scene ends, we see him on the small little party in the game. A ghost who's happy, getting the birthday he never got when he was alive. The game ends with a thank you message for all of us for supporting the product for a whole year. It's interesting to say that for the anniversary update, there was some good lore, as well as Easter eggs and references. There were also some strange ones like Kane Pixel's corridor. These, theory-wise, open up a lot of questions and room for discussion, but I'd like to throw mine out, which was in part helped by one of my YouTuber friends, Benja. To start off, I'm going to go off on a limb and say that the obby we see for the anniversary is canon, though the thanks to the supporters probably isn't, considering that it's fourth wall breaking. The way I see it, the game has some form of anniversary event in its own system. However, not without its wacky twist. We have to collect birthday hats for the party that never came for our own child, and the hole on the stage and the later transition into the corridor could be a representation of what's really lying deep within the anniversary, wherein we can make it right, quote unquote, for our child and actually set up the party, kinda as a recall for the past. So our character jumps into the hole and interacts with the past by gathering the party and supplies for the kid. The whole past idea can be seen by the fact that, as I stated before, the basement doesn't have a gun safe, doesn't have anything on the tables and drawers compared to what we see in RCA1. The boy that we would later play as in RCA1 seems to be significantly younger than what we would assume he would be in RCA1, as in this one he seems to be more, not even a teenager yet, which we assume is his age by RCA1. If the sheriff's book is canon, this also has to be before RCA2 and RCA1. By us doing this, we end up giving a better ending for our son whom died in RCA1 and giving him his happiest day. So yeah, pretty much all of this is in the past just because things haven't happened yet. A couple of other things that we see in the rooms are interesting. The sheriff's books is one of the rooms that implies that whoever was studying was likely a friend of the family, and someone who very well could have been the player character in RCA2, connecting both games in a more direct manner by implying that whoever we were knew the father, but to what extent the sheriff knew the company and the technology the father was creating is suspect. But at least now we have some implications that whoever the sheriff was seemed to have also known the kid and known the family, meaning that this is much more tight-knit than we originally thought. This would also explain the 6 chairs, given the fact that there are 4 family members but 6 bowls and chairs, which implies that the family friend was staying with them for a while and likely had a significant other of some kind, or maybe just another friend who just wanted to stick along the way. We don't really know. The book that talks about the history of Rupp County is also a good touch of world building, as it shows that despite the government's best efforts to destroy the county in RCA1 and RCA2, there still exists many copies that prove county's existence in books and pictures, probably birthing conspiracy theories or myths of the county's existence. Also, what I mean by government, Empyrean is a government company. This has been kind of implied and confirmed. Lastly, the note we have to address on the living room table is very big for the lore. The note I have been skipping out on, I think we're going to have to finally address. The note on the table statement is a bit odd, but I think I have a good grasp on it. Some have posed theories of who Chloe is, but I think Chloe is either the dog on the photo book or the hamster. The reason I say this is because we know the family in the setting, which would be the past, is still alive. So it couldn't be either child because it says that whoever is writing this is going to destroy the tombstone, implying that Chloe is long dead. Another thing was brought to my attention by Benja, that there is a photo of a realistic dog in the photo album and that there is text there. It is kind of low quality and maybe my eyes are failing me, but I feel like I could roughly make out the name of the dog to start with a C and hence be Chloe. Now, why do I say it's an animal and not a person? Well, the reason is because I think the father was using this animal in their obsession to study either compliance or death. We know that the obsession could have been with Monster Helper and the creation of the game ASO. And it's pretty well established that while the helpers in the game are human and obviously are just ghosts in a machine, Monster Helper isn't. Monster Helper portrays more animalistic qualities than human ones, which makes me think that the father was using animals, Chloe being one of them, to study and prepare what would eventually be Monster Helper, with whoever writing aiming to destroy the tombstone either as a way to hide the body or as a way to signal to the father to, stop using Chloe. But with that, the game really doesn't have a lot of lore left. So, there you have it, folks. From the son getting his happiest day and a much better ending, to the sheriff being connected with the family in some way, to the identity of Chloe and having a non-canonical entry in the game, thanks Razor, this was a Stereotypical Obby's Anniversary Explained. I've been Top Hat King, and thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.